Hey everybody, it's Mr. Cherry, and if you notice on my screen, what I have is the problem from part 1. So remember in part 1, we asked you to take x plus 5 and multiply it by x minus 7, and I'm hoping that you created a generic rectangle like this to find this sum, x squared minus 2x minus 35. Now, what's weird about this is I notice this, that right here, on this diagonal, if I were to add those two numbers together, that would give me negative 2x. That gives me the sum of those two things because they're like terms. So I kind of wrote that down here. So I noticed that 5x plus negative 7x give me the middle term. Now, I also noticed something else here going on. I looked at this other diagonal, all right? So I've got this, the one I circled in yellow, and I noticed something that kind of looks like this. So I'm going to kind of go up here. Check it out. This is what I circled in yellow. I noticed that if I multiply those two things together, I get negative 35x squared. Whoa. Look at this. 5x. Times negative 7x. Again, I'm not making these things up. I want you to notice that those are what I'm getting from the middle of my generic rectangle. I noticed, check this out. This is crazy, all right? If I multiply these two together, I get negative 35x squared. And if I multiply the other diagonal together, I get negative 35x squared. People, I've seen this before. So wait, these two add together to give us the middle number, negative 2x. And these two multiply together to give us the product of the diagonal, negative 35x squared. What the what? You've seen this before. It is a diamond problem. So pause right now. Fill in this diamond problem, meaning what numbers will multiply together to give you negative 35x squared, and what numbers can we add together to get negative 2x? Okay, pause the video and fill in this diamond, please. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you paused, and I'm hoping that you found these answers, 5x and negative 7x, which are the exact same numbers from up above, which are found in this generic rectangle. There is a pattern here if you look for it. I want you to take a second now, pause the video, maybe rewatch this part, and see if you can make a connection between all of these pieces. So hopefully you were able to find a connection between the equation that is the sum and its factors over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I use a generic rectangle and how I use a diamond problem to help me factor. All right, so check it out. We're going to fill in this space here, meaning we're going to find the pairs that multiply together to give us this quadratic equation. That's what we're looking for. All right, so when you factor, everybody, and especially when we're factoring quadratics, you're going to want to use these two tools here. All right, so I want you on your paper to draw a generic rectangle, and I want you to draw a diamond problem. So the first thing that you always want to do when you start something like this, when we're trying to factor a quadratic, is we always want to fill in these two corners first, and we're going to fill them in with the piece at the beginning of the equation that has the squared term, and the number at the end that doesn't have a variable. All right, so that's how I'm going to start to fill out my generic rectangle. And now, because I filled out this diagonal here, I know that this top space in my diamond is going to need to be 21x squared. All right, and where that came from is that came from these two multiplied together. So I knew that the pattern I saw is if I multiplied 21 and x squared together, it would be the same as these two missing numbers multiplied together. All right? So I knew that those would have to be the same here. So that's why I started my setup like that. Okay, now the next thing that we can fill in here is we can fill in the bottom part of the diamond problem. And if you noticed in our last example, the bottom part of the diamond problem, the sum, that was the middle term of that quadratic. So I know that I need to have a 10x here. Okay, so here we go. So I've got to think, what two numbers can I multiply together to give me 21x squared? But when I add them together, I get 10x. So pause the video and complete the diamond problem. All right, welcome back. So hopefully you were able to figure out that these should be the edges of our diamond problem. So we should have 7x and 3x. Because 7 times 3 makes 21, x times x makes x squared, 7x plus 3x makes 10x. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I am now ready to fill out my generic rectangle. And it actually doesn't matter where we put the 7x and the 3x. And now, this looks just like the work that we did yesterday, where you have to fill in the blank. So what are the missing pieces that go on the outside? Please, again, pause the video, try it on your own. What are those missing pieces that would have to go on the outside of this generic rectangle? If we can find those missing pieces, then we are going to know what our factor pair is. All right, so check your answer. You should have had x times x makes x squared. And then if I have the x down here, that brings the x into this box. So I must have a 7 on that side, because 7 times x makes 7x. And down here, I would have to have a 3, because x times 3 makes 3x. And let's make sure that this works. 3 times 7 is 21. So ladies and gentlemen, that means that I can get x squared plus 10x plus 21 if I multiply these factors together. So if I do x plus 7 times x plus 3. Okay, let's try another example. Please pause the video and try and set this up. Okay, check your setup. So hopefully you had x squared in the bottom left corner, negative 16 in the top right, and you know that these two are going to multiply together, and that will be the same as these two multiplied together. So in our diamond problem, we want to have our negative 16x squared in the top. And again, that came from finding this product right here. Okay, the next thing is, in our diamond, the bottom of the diamond is always going to be the sum of these two, which is going to make the middle term. So I know that this is going to be negative 6x. All right, so go ahead and pause the video right now, and please complete the diamond problem. What are those missing pieces? Okay, welcome back, mathematicians. So I hope that you were able to find that we should have had negative 8x and 2x as our factors here that multiply together to make negative 16x squared, that add to make negative 6x. So again, once you have those numbers, they now go into the other diagonal of our generic rectangle. So please, at this time, pause the video again and see if you can find the missing numbers that go on the outside of the generic rectangle. Okay, check your work here. Here we go. So you should have had x times x make x squared. To get 2x here, I already have the x on the left side, so I just need to bring a 2 in. And to get negative 8x, I just need a negative 8 here. And let's make sure this works. Negative 8 times 2 is negative 16. So that means the factors of x squared minus 6x minus 16 are these. X minus 8 times x plus 2. So it is now time for you to practice this process. Please try the sample problems below.